Hey everyone, welcome back to Gardening with Melon. I'm here in my backyard. We got my dad over here.
Hi.
We know that, Jack is over here lounging in the sun. He's part of the garden, so I want to make sure you see him. Hey Jack. Yeah. Great, and now I just wanted to show you a little update of the garden. And then today I'm gonna take some time to reflect on my reason for gardening, and then we'll do a couple things around the garden. So I wanted to show you some highlights. So here is our garden. It's my garden bed. As you can see, some things have gotten huge. My dad was always saying your corn will be knee-high by the 4th of July. Well, our corn goes up to my hip, and it's still May, so we got some impressive corn. We have this beautiful tomato plant. It's the Cherokee purple heirloom tomato. And look at it. It already has a tomato starting. It's right here. And as you can see, there's 3 little tomatoes and they're all green. So hopefully they become purple, but we got to give them some time. Also, the tomato plants smell so good. They have this great tomato smell. Our cherry tomatoes. We got some green ones here too. So I'm excited for those to ripen. Another plant that's gotten huge are cucumbers. We don't really have any cucumbers yet, but their leaves are just giant and beautiful. I think we had a pepper starting, didn't we? Or we don't have any. Oh, we have little buds though. So here's one of our pepper plants. You can see in here, it's a little hard to see with the light. There's like a little flower. Those little flowers, remember the flowers become the fruit, which we eat. Even if it's a vegetable, it's still called a fruit when it comes from a flower. And then, oh my gosh, over here, my mom's garden box, we have this giant zucchini plant. This is all one plant right here. And it's got this big yellow flower, and that is gonna become the zucchini. I'm getting hit by our sprinklers. The garden's trying to help me grow. And then over here, we have a pumpkin plant. We talked about it a little bit last time. It was a seed. We planted a ton of seeds. When you plant pumpkins, you only need 3 in a mound, kind of, because they're vines. So right now my dad's pulling it out to thin it out. So we planted a ton to make sure that some took. We didn't want there not be enough, but it's too dense, so they can't grow well because they're too crowded, like we said. So we're pulling some out so that there's only about 3, because they take up a lot of space. As you kind of like that, kind of like the zucchini plant here. They're in the same family. They're all squash. They really take up a lot of space. So that's my dad just pulling it out, and then we picked these ones, and we're going to put them in the compost. So we'll do that after. We've also been keeping up with our tomato plants to make sure to feed them up the cages. So remember when I told you how I put these cages on, and the tomatoes were just itty bitty when we put them on, and now they're growing up, and we're making sure they go through the cage. So the branches in the inside, not going out and getting bent. So that helps them grow up really tall, really strong. Awesome. So now I wanted to talk about some different reasons that people garden, the reasons why I garden, the different types of gardens you can have, and maybe a little bit about what you could do to garden if I've inspired you to garden from home. All right, so I'm gonna show you my paper. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about some reasons for gardening. So a big reason that people garden is health. It's really nutritious when you eat food that you grew yourself. You know exactly how it was grown, and you know what it was made of. So you know when you eat something that's maybe really processed and been made together by someone else, you don't really know what was in there. But when you grow a tomato and then make tomato sauce out of it, you know that it was a whole food. Also, it's very tasty when you garden. You know how people say if you cook it, it's more delicious? Same with if you grow it, it's more delicious. Also, remember how we talked about that lots of plants that you buy, lots of plants that grow produce have chemicals on them sometimes, or farmers use that to keep bugs out or keep out birds or other animals. Well, we don't have that in our garden. We use only natural things, so we know that's very clean. Gardening is a lot of exercise. When we had to get the garden bed ready, I was shoveling dirt to mix it. Remember to till the soil, mix it all up so that the plant roots can grow through it easily. I'm out here watering every day and bending over and picking weeds and, trying to find if there's a ripe cherry on the cherry tree. It also is really good for your focus. If you ever feel a little unfocused and like you just can't really keep your mind on a task, maybe you need to go and do something with your body where you're just thinking about the plants and you have nothing else on your mind. It's also really good for our world. So if you care about the earth and you want to help keep the planet clean and healthy, it's really good for our climate to garden yourself. When people garden in really big farms, they use a lot of water and, like I said, sometimes chemicals, and that can take a big toll on the earth. So it's good to produce some of your food yourself if you can. It's also more economic, so it helps you save money. It's a little bit of an investment at the beginning if you don't have a planter box set up, or maybe you don't have a watering hose. But once you find the materials you need, it helps you save money when you don't have to go to the store and buy tomatoes or carrots. You have them in your garden. It's also a really good way to connect with your community or your family. So maybe that means gardening with a sibling or a parent or an adult in your household. It's a good way to spend time with them. And maybe it means you pick some flowers from your garden or some tomatoes and you leave them at a neighbor's doorstep for them to clean themselves and then have in their home. Also, gardening makes you happy. I love gardening because it just connects me to nature, which is another point. And it just is a fun way to get outdoors, feel like you grew something yourself. It's very rewarding, and it's just a nice way to spend your time. I also want to talk about the different types of gardens. So I'm just going to go ahead and show all the different types of gardens right now. We are doing a fruit and veggie and herb garden. So we have that cilantro, and we have some tomatoes and some strawberries and some corn. So we have all sorts of fruit and veggies. So we have that because, we love working in nature. It's a fun way to bring our family together. We love eating the food, and because it really, gives us something that we use. But there's lots of different ways that you can garden. These are just a few. These are not all the types of gardens. But maybe some of you have gone to the zoo and seen a butterfly garden. Those are so cool. So what they purposely do is they grow plants and flowers that butterflies really like. And then it attracts all these butterflies because it's their food. And then you get to see all these beautiful butterflies. At the beginning of this series, I talked about growing gardens within your own house. Those could be container gardens. So you just use things like old yogurt containers, and you can grow herbs in it or other plants that don't need too much space. Or you can start basically any kind of plant that way. So start it from a seed so you can give it lots of attention in a sunny place inside your home before you plant it outdoors. Or it can live its whole life on a windowsill. Like a lot of herbs can grow that way really well. You can also have a flower garden. So actually in my front yard, we have a lot of rose bushes, and we have some gardenias, and we have some poppies. So I encourage you to look around next time you're outdoors and see what kinds of flowers you see. And think about, is that a flower garden? Because it doesn't take much for it to be a flower garden. Just a couple flowers that you take care of in your home or in your yard. I love flower gardens because whenever I want to give a nice little gift to someone, during the summer months or the spring, I can just pick them a rose and make them a little card, and there I've done something really nice for them. You can also have a rock garden. So that is just a garden that looks like some rock landscape. So maybe you really like the mountains or the desert, and you just find some materials that emulate that mimic that design, and you find a little place to do that so that you feel like you've escaped to a place you love. You could also just have a shade garden. So a garden doesn't have to be growing food. A garden can be somewhere that you feel like you're at peace and can relax and refresh yourself after exhausting activity, or maybe you just want to read a book in the shade. You can create a little shade garden by putting up an umbrella or maybe making a little fort. And then there's also Zen gardens. So Zen gardens are really awesome gardens all over the world, and they're meant to calm yourself down and get focused and find peace. And they're made with sand and maybe little rocks or other things, and they could be life-size, or you could make a little Zen garden in like a shoebox. And I think one of these days I'm going to teach us all how to make a Zen garden. All right. So I hope today you enjoyed seeing the garden grow and learning a little bit about different reasons you can garden or different ways you can garden. So I encourage you to think about those things I listed and see if maybe you want to start one of those in your home, if it's like a little Zen garden in a little shoebox, or if you want a shade spot, or if you want to get an herb garden growing, or maybe just plant a few flower seeds. Talk to the adults in your life and see about getting that started. Oh, and I was about to sign off, but I see that my dad's been picking some of the carrots we have. These, oh, he's been thinning them. Oh, but you can see some of them have a little bit of carrot on them still. So can I see those?
Yeah, you want to see this one? He's picking?
See, he's been thinning them out so that they have space to grow, but some of them had already started a little bit. So they look like little baby carrots. Look how tiny this one is. But that's okay, because sometimes you need to thin out some of the carrots so that the other carrots have a chance to grow. All right. Oh wow, this one looks fun. So one thing I love about carrots and gardening is you get to see plants and foods that you might not have been able to see in the grocery store. Most grocery stores don't sell carrots that have weird shapes like this, but I think they have a lot of personality and they can kind of make you giggle and just have a good time. All right, well, on that note, I'm going to say goodbye until next week. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye, everyone. You want to say bye?
Bye-bye.